And before we proceed to the storyline, kindly like this video, comment for more reaction and share to your friends. And let's begin.
The 2003 Spurs, the first championship team of the Big Three era. Where are they now? The San Antonio Spurs run finally appears to be over, or at least close to it. After Manu Ginobili retired, only Greg Popovich remains of the original Spurs dynasty. Tony Parker left in free agency then retired, and Tim Duncan retired in 2016. The core of Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, and Pop formed in 2002 when Ginobili entered the NBA. That 2002 to 2003 Spurs team went on to win a championship, the first of four that the four men would share together. But that team has plenty of other big names on it, too, from former All-Stars, legendary role players, notorious coaches, and more. Here's where the 2002 to 2003 Spurs team is today. Tim Duncan was the leader of the Spurs. He averaged 23 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists per game that season, en route to MVP and later, Finals MVP. Duncan retired in 2016 after winning 3 more championships en route to becoming the Spurs' greatest player and one of the best players in NBA history. Today, he still works with the franchise in an unofficial capacity. Tony Parker was just 20 years old and in his second NBA season, but he took over as the full-time starting point guard, averaging 15 points and 5 assists per game. Parker, at 36, left the Spurs after 16 years in 2019 and signed with the Charlotte Hornets. Then retired as now a team owner in French professional basketball team. Ginobili joined the Spurs in 2002 to 2003, though he was drafted in the second round in 1999. After a decorated international career, the 25-year-old Ginobili averaged just 7 points in 20 minutes per game in his first year. Ginobili retired at the age of 41. With career averages of 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, Ginobili is the only non-American player to win 4 NBA championships and an Olympic gold medal. He's already a Hall of Famer. David Robinson, once the Spurs franchise player, still manned the middle next to Duncan in 2002 to 2003. He averaged 8 points and 8 rebounds per game that season. Robinson retired after the 2003 championship. He was a 10-time All-Star and the 1995 MVP. He is now a co-founder of Admiral Capital Group, a real estate and private equity firm. Bruce Bowen was the Spurs' lockdown defender. He made the all-defensive second team that season. Bowen retired with the Spurs in 2009. He has since worked as an analyst for ESPN and worked with Fox Sports for the 2017 to 2018 season covering the Los Angeles Clippers. He reportedly lost his job this offseason for making critical comments about Kawhi Leonard, a target of the Clippers. Stephen Jackson was a talented wing who alternated between the starting lineup and coming off the bench that season, his third in the league. Jackson retired in 2014 after playing for 8 teams in 14 years. He has since worked as an NBA analyst and now plays in the Big Three. Steve Kerr, then 37, came off the bench and gave the Spurs a veteran presence. His highlight moment came in the Western Conference Finals when he scored 12 points off the bench to give them a big win. Kerr retired the next season after 15 years in the NBA. He was a GM for the Phoenix Suns, then an NBA analyst for TNT. He now coaches the Golden State Warriors. Malik Rose was an effective big man off the bench for the Spurs, averaging 10 points and 6 rebounds per game. Rose played for 4 teams in 13 years, retiring in 2009. After working as a color analyst for the 76ers, Rose was the GM of the Erie Bayhawks of the G League. This offseason, he was hired as assistant GM of the Pistons. Steve Smith, then 33, came off the bench for the Spurs, averaging 7 points in 19 minutes per game. Smith made one All-Star team in his 14-year career. He's now an analyst for NBA TV. Danny Ferry came off the bench for the Spurs that year, his 13th in the league, playing a very limited role. After playing in the NBA, Ferry became a successful executive with Cavaliers and Hawks. In 2015, he split ways with the Hawks following an investigation into whether he made a controversial, race-related comment about a player. He was absolved of any wrongdoing. He is now an advisor to the Pelicans. Speedy Claxton was a second-year guard who came off the bench behind Tony Parker. Despite a smaller role with the team, he had a big finals game that helped the Spurs seal the championship. Claxton would play 5 more years in the NBA, retiring in 2009. He is now an assistant coach for Hofstra University in New York. Kevin Willis was a 40-year-old big man who came off the bench for the Spurs. Willis played until he was 44, retiring in 2007. He is tied for most seasons in the NBA. Since retiring, he has started his own clothing line called Willis & Walker and appeared on NBA TV as an analyst. Menk Botter was a reserve big man who came over from China. He played just 44 total in minutes during the season. Botter left the NBA in 2004 and returned to China. He retired in 2015.
For more videos like this, please subscribe the channel, like the video and click the notification bell for more videos like this. Thank you very much.